Hey y'all, and welcome to my channel. Jane Corley with Pic Visions here. Thanks for joining me. If it's your first time here, make sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and ring the bell so you can be notified every time a new video is uploaded. Today, we're going to learn all about how to place an image in a new Photoshop document, how to save that image in that Photoshop project after you're through, as well as some good tips and tricks for some tools that'll get you started on Photoshop. Let's get started. Once we have Photoshop opened, we can create a new document. I'll hit Control or Command New to open a new workspace preset. For the sake of this tutorial, we'll name it YouTube 1. We'll leave the presets at custom, and we'll just let everything go as it's set right now. Once that document is open, there's a few ways to go ahead and place an image in your document. The first way is, of course, by going down to your File folder, going up to the file that your images are located in, and we'll just start with this image first. Select the image and drag and drop over to the Photoshop window. The image will show up in your Photoshop window like this. Now we'll get rid of that and I'll show you the other way. The second way to place an image in a document is to come up to File, Place. This will open a separate Photoshop File Explorer window and hit Place. You'll see the X over the image. In Photoshop, this enables you to transform the image to fit the size of your canvas. If you remember in the previous video, I mentioned if you hold the Shift key on one of these corners, or really on any of these pull tabs, you see the arrows popping up? Pull tabs on your crop window, it will hold the integrity of the image size and not distort the image. So still holding the Shift key, I'm going to let go of the Shift key. See the little pointer arrow? That's going to be your Move tool, just like this Move tool. And you can move the image up and down and around. Once you have your image set where you'd like it to be on your Photoshop document, you can hit Enter or Return on your keyboard to place it. Coming over to your Layers window, on your Layers tab over here, your home base, my workflow is to take this image layer and I'm going to hold and drag it down to this new layer, which will duplicate this layer copy. The reason why I do a layer copy is because I treat the original placement of the layer as a negative. The second layer copy, the duplicate layer copy that I just created on my Layers tab, I make all of my adjustments from here on out that cause changes and make adjustments. The reason why I make a layer copy is because the bottom copy, the bottom layer of my document, I treat as a negative. So the bottom layer is my originally placed layer. I'll treat that as a negative. Think of it in film terms, negative. That way, any adjustments that I make to my second layer, my layer copy, I don't hurt the negative, just in case I have to go back, just in case I like the original version rather than the adjustment version that I've placed on top. That'll make a little bit more sense in just a few minutes. Let's continue. So after I've created my layer copy, any adjustments I make to this layer will not affect this layer. It will only affect this layer. Now you can see here, this is a smart object thumbnail. If you see this little box right here, it will limit you on the tools over here that you will be able to use. You see I'm selected the eraser tool currently, and it's got the little circle with the line through it saying no, no, no. I'm not able to use the eraser tool with this layer right here being a smart object. So to fix that, come up to the upper top toolbar here and select all. As you see on the key, hotkey, it's also Control A or Command A on a Mac. This will put the marquee markers all the way around your image. Then you come up to Layer, Smart Object, and Rasterize. This will enable you to make any edits with any tools on this layer. As you can see, this layer still remains a smart object, but this one is now workable in the Photoshop platform. And you can do whatever you need to do to this image. Now let's make a few adjustments to this image. Going through some of these main tool sets, the Move tool, or just hit the letter V as in Victor, and you can move this layer around. With the rectangle, elliptical, single row, single column tool, we'll hit the marquee tool over here. Say you wanted to select this truck over here. Of course, to get these marquees already off so you can work with this layer, we'll select off, and we'll use the square marquee tool, and we'll say just to select this truck over here. Now if you were to come here and just hit delete, if you wanted to delete that portion, it looks like nothing changes. Well, now that we know all about layers and how layers work, let's go back to our Move tool, and as you can see, it's cut out that truck from this top layer. Now say we wanted to color that block section in white. We can take our brush tool and now just paint that area in white. We're going to step backwards, and we're back to the quick selection marquee around with a full image with the little truck over here back off. M for marquee, click off, or just deselect with the D key. D is in Delta. And we're back to our full image. Now, say we wanted to put text on this image. We can come down to our T for text shortcut, or come to the text tool. You see I was actually on the horizontal type mask tool. We won't work, don't worry about that right now. We're going to scroll up and make sure you're on the horizontal type tool. And we can create a text box. As you see over here on the Layers tab, it's going to create a new layer when you do a text tool. That allows you to have a manipulatable layer just for your text. Now as you can see, the cursor is huge. The cursor is huge, and that's going to be way, way too big if we want to write anything other than a one letter. So what you can do is come up here to this tab area, and it'll give you all the way up to 72 point font. So you see I'm on 135. The visual is, I like to select, highlight this area here, and just use my arrow keys for up and down to give me a better value. Now if you know you're at 64 and you need at least double the amount, you can just hit 120 and hit your enter or return button and do it that way as well. So let's just write Monster Jam for the sake of text. And you see that's still too big. So after you settled on your color, another option on this task toolbar for your text is to do what's called a wrap text. There's a lot of really great stylized presets that you can choose from. I encourage you to play around with them to find the best one to meet your project needs. Let's go with this arch selection here, and you make adjustments to the way the text is actually shaped, the distortion, vertical, horizontal, put more bend in it, do a horizontal bend, you can even do a vertical bend. Just play around with it. We'll leave it like that. Once you're done working with the text, working in the text, you're done typing, you're done with all this up here, click the text layer on the Layers tab and find that it's renamed the text layer to whatever's inside the text for you. You need to hit the Move button or hit V for the Move tool command. Make sure you're on the text layer. Now you can move the text any which way you want. If this is still too large for you and you can't figure out the right font number to use, have no fear. We're going to do the Control A or the Command A command on the text layer. I know the marquee looks like it's selected everything, but if you're only selected on the text layer, it's only going to make adjustments to the text. Once you've finished with the text and it still just doesn't look right, it's still maybe a little bit too big, a little bit too small, maybe not in the right place for you, if you still need to make adjustments to this text layer outside of adjusting the name of the font, style, point, any of this other stuff, if you need to make any adjustments to these layers and you can't quite get it with these formats, what you can do after making sure you're still on the text layer, you can hit Control T. T is in transform, or Command T. T is in transform. And it'll get this box around it where you can make these adjustments. So as we said in the previous tutorial, hitting the Shift key will maintain the same size. It'll honor the same image dimensions without distorting the image dimensions or the text dimensions in this case. So once we get it to be about the right size, I like the way that it's moving across like that. It's got all that good stuff going on, but I'd like it to be tilted like so to match the shape of the vehicle. You see where you come over to these other areas and you got some up and down arrows, you got some side to side arrows, same thing on the horizontal and vertical axis, all that stuff. What you can do is rotate. I'm not hitting the Shift key, just selecting it and dragging it down to manipulate the location of the text, like so. Now that'll work just for the sake of the tutorial. Once you've got it set in place, just hit the Enter or Return button and move forward. Next thing we're going to do on this image, we've gotten to use the Move tool, the Marquee tool, the Lasso tool. We can use the Lasso tool to select certain parts of this image. So either click on the icon, or you can do L for lasso. Just hit the L button as in Lima or lasso. To select maybe just the tire, let's say we just want to select the tire. You click and hold the lasso tool, and I hope you can see it on your computer, but it's selecting a very thin line around, very thin, just tiny, tiny selection line. When you release off of the click, it's going to create the marquee around that tire selection you just made. Now, very, very important to note, take a look at this Layers tab over here. You see on the Layers tab, we're still on the text layer. If you want to select that tire, you need to be on the layer that that tire is actually located. That tire is not on the text layer. It's actually on this layer copy layer. So we need to make sure that we're on that layer copy layer. As you see, I made the selection on the text layer, and all I had to do to make that tire selection was make sure to click back down on the layer copy. So going forward, let's say I want to copy this tire and I want to put a tire on the back of this vehicle. Just move it back here. Doesn't have to look any kind of way. I just want to copy it and move it down here. What you can do to copy a selection is edit copy, or staying in the theme of my love for hotkeys, Control C. And to paste, Control V, as in Victor. Now, you may be saying, where did it go? First, let's notice on your Layers tab, it's created that tire on a brand new layer. Brand new layer. Layer 1. But it doesn't look like you see it anywhere here. Well, that's because that layer selection is right on top of, similar to the way that we marqueed out this truck over here, and you couldn't see the difference because that layer underneath was still showing. That tire selection, we're on that new layer, so let's just hit Control T for Control Transform. Control T, as in Thomas or as in Transform. It's going to select that dialog box, and if you go up and hit your Move tool, or V as in Victor, you can move this tire. I'll go ahead and put it back here and just drop it right there. I know it doesn't look great, but just for the sake of what we're learning today, we'll just leave it right there. This text layer is above this tire layer. So if you were to drag this tire back here behind 2015, it's going to be behind 2015. If you wanted the tire to go in front or on top of 2015, you would need to physically click on this layer, and you can drag this layer above that layer. So now, selected on the tire layer, that tire is on top of this text. On top of the text. So, moving on, you have your Quick Selection tool and your Magic Wand tool. Quick Selection is a way for you to use a brush type selection tool to quickly select pixels, to quickly select information inside your window. So do make sure that you are on the layer that you want to select information from. So I'm going to come down here to my copy of my negative, and I'm going to select, let's just select this group of people right here. Okay. Let's say I'm going to select that group of people, and on down here. That's all I want to select, is this group of people. Well, I have a lot more information around here that I didn't want to select. So the way to deselect after you've already made Magic Wand selections is to hit the Alt key on a PC, Command key on a Mac, and then go back over while holding the click on your mouse or keyboard or whatever you got, and going back over that selection to deselect. if it's still not cooperating with you, I would highly encourage, you can release your Alt and click anytime. Just when you want to go back and select again, you hit the click and the Alt button again and just continue on. Or if you want to add more, just click to continue on. Plain click and hold is select. Alt, click and hold is to minus. Like so. The way to get a more precise selection is to zoom into your selection area. As we learned in our last tutorial, Control plus will zoom in, Control minus will zoom out. So we'll Control plus. So you can get a little closer in your selections and be more precise the more zoomed in you are, the more zoomed into your selection you are. So if I wanted to be really precise in getting these people highlighted, I would zoom in. I would use my bracket key to the left bracket, to make my brush head smaller. And I would go ahead and click off of all this extra background. And I would come back and release the Alt and Command key to add to my selection. And fill it in. You can be absolutely more precise if you want to make a more precise selection, but for the sake of just learning the gist of these tools, we will leave it at that. So if I wanted to make an adjustment to this selection, I wanted to make an adjustment and change the color of the crowd, or get rid of the crowd altogether, or change and make an adjustment to this part of the image, I could do that by using the quick selection brush or the magic wand tool. Okay? Lastly on this tutorial, there's two parts to the clone stamp tool. The selection of copy and the physical brush copy. What I mean by that, you're going to have to select an area that matches closely to the area you're trying to cover up. So I'm trying to make this exit sign look like this wall. So what I want to do is I want to copy this wall on top of that exit sign on this layer copy. So to do that, hit the Alt or Command key, and you see the little icon changed, and just click, as in you're just clicking on top of it, just click. Release the Alt key, Now, you will paint that area. See how it's a different color? Let me zoom in a little bit. See how it's it looks like it's a brush color over this exit sign. So we're just going to paint a copy of this area right there. Now you see how it's now painting the exit sign. If you run into that issue, just release the click and click again. Because whatever this little plus sign to the left is copying, that's what it's going to copy. So if you keep running over your exit sign, just continue to click. Click off the selection and click back on the selection to make those adjustments. Let's come over to this one and make that adjustment. So I want to match this area over here to that area right there. So we'll hit Alt and click to select the destination area. Come over here, swipe, unclick, swipe, unclick, swipe, and up. Like so. Now, You see, I kind of went over a little bit. This is one of those instances where having this bottom copy is great to have. Having this bottom copy, you can select that bottom copy, select that marquee tool, select on this bottom copy an area you want to duplicate. Marquee a little sample space, hit Control C for Control Copy or Command Copy. Come back up on this layer copy area, make sure you can see it, and hit Control V for copy and Control T for transform. Move that area over, select it, hit enter, and now you can barely tell. If you need to change the size, you can go back to Control T, expand the selection, good to go. Even if you need to move it over a little bit, Control T, bring the box back up, use your arrow keys on your toolbar to select it over, hit enter, looks good. Now you've got this random black bar. Now, if you wanted to merge this layer and this layer, select this layer, hit your shift key, select that second layer to make multiple selections, right click on your mouse or keyboard, and come down to merge layers, like so. To zoom back out to the full window of the image, hit Control 0, remember? To view your finished product, we're going to click back on the text. Looks good, yay! This tire's a little weird, but tire taught us a lot. If you wanted to delete a layer, so we wanted to delete this tire before we save our project, I want to delete this layer, you can simply just select this layer and hit delete on your keyboard, or you can click and hold and drag this layer down to this great little trash can down here at the bottom of the layers tab, and it'll get rid of the layer for you. To save this image when you're done, if you're happy with all of this, you've done big things over here in your layers tab, your image looks great, that's exactly how I want to keep it, go to File, Save, and it's going to bring up your Save As box. Find your destination where you'd like to save your project. I'm just going to throw it on the desktop. You see where it says YouTube 1? Remember we made that selection in our Create Project panel in the very beginning. Say I wanted to change this to YouTube 2. This PSD format. This PSD format is the Photoshop standard format. That's going to save the integrity of all of these layers over here. And when you get quite a few layers, it makes a huge difference to be able to still maintain editing abilities in your Photoshop project. So what I'll do is I'll always save a copy of a PSD file. These dialog boxes will come up just to let you know that you're saving it for maximum format. Another way to save your project is to Control S for save. But if you want to save it as a different file format, say you want to save the Photoshop format, but then you also want to save a JPEG or a PDF document, Control Shift S is the command on the hotkey, or you can go to File, Save As, Command Shift S or Control Shift S. This will enable you to change the file format to all these really great selections. You of course have a JPEG, you have a PSD if you want to save a duplicate of the PSD or a different version of the PSD, or you can come down to PDF, RAW of course if you want to do PNG and TIFF. Those are really great for larger formats. You know, just whatever your project is, there's a file format for it. So typically I'll save it as a JPEG. In addition to a PSD file, a PDF file will actually also give you the option of saving all of your layers for editing if it's just easier for storage issues you may have, or just space on your computers or whatever. If you just want to save a PDF, that one's really flexible across a lot of platforms. I'll save it as PDF just so you can kind of see the information it pops up. Preserve Photoshop editing capabilities and optimize for fast web preview. It also gives you compression, output, security, and summary options, and you can, of course, like any other menu in here, save great presets and all that stuff. So save PDF. I'm going to show you Control-Shift-S for the save as, of course. I'm going to show you what the JPEG option looks like as well. We'll hit save. You can change your image quality here if you would like and make it a higher quality photo, or make it a lower quality photo if you need it to load faster, or it's not going to fit on a file document you want to share with somebody, or if for any reason you need to make it a larger file or a smaller file. It'll bring up that information of how big the file is here, very similar to the Create New Project window at the beginning of the Photoshop Project Maker. So we'll hit OK, and so now this file is saved. I hope this video was helpful. Thanks so much for joining me. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell to make sure you don't miss any new videos that are uploaded each week. Until next time, I'm Jane Corley with Pic Visions, Media Arts and Photography. See you next time.